Good evening, Pottsgrove, and I just want to give you a quick update. Our kindergarten registration portal is now open. It was open on February 18th, and you can go to our website, www.pgsd.org, click on the kindergarten registration link, and you can start the registration process. Also, on April 28th, at the high school from 12 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m., we will have a kindergarten roundup here, and the three principals, our elementary principals, Dr. Lisa Jones, Mr. Stephen Seiler, and Mrs. Terry Kohler will be on hand to assist with some more registration questions and to meet the principals, etc., and to do some diagnostics and things like that, so our students have an opportunity to kind of feel a little bit more familiar and get used to the kindergarten process. So we hope that you'll come out. Again, the portal is open on our website. If you do not have access to a computer on Wednesday or April 7th from 12 o'clock to 2 p.m., you may access any of the building's computer labs, and they will also help you with online registration. Okay, thank you. And if there's any questions, call the business office, Mrs. Tara Mossman. She's the individual that takes care of kindergarten registration. Thank you, and we'll look forward to seeing your kindergartners next year. Thanks.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started for this second meeting of February of Pottsgrove School Board, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'd ask for the secretary to please note the roll. And I'd like to announce that the board had an executive session this evening at 7:15 to discuss security. And with that, we'll move right into public comment. Do we have any requests for public?
No, sir.
None? Okay. So I'll look out and see folks, and nobody's got their hands up. Nobody's looking too earnestly. Nobody's requesting public comment. Nobody's jumping up. So I'll take that as nobody asking for public comment. So we'll move on to report of the superintendent.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Lehman. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Glenn Adams and his students with the Environmental Club presentation tonight to basically talk about the progress they've made this year in beautifying our campus and describe some of their projects and what they hope to complete in the future. So just not that you have to sit, but if you can use the mic, that will help everybody hear you. Thank you very much, and welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting us here tonight.
Oh, turning it on would help. That's the first big step. So again, thank you for inviting us here tonight. I am Mr. Glenn Adams, the club sponsor of the Environmental Club. And so as you said, we are going to present what we have managed to get done. We've been very busy this year. And we would like to talk a little bit about some of our future projects. Excellent. Next slide.
Some of our progress this year. We planted around 15 or so trees all around the school. So, next slide. These are just some pictures that we have. In our tree planting sites, we have outside of the cafeteria entrance, right along here. We have the gym entrance down there, the up on the hill between the high school and the Ringing Rocks, and then down by the turf field and by the sign in the front of the school. And these are all just pictures of locations.
Yeah, so this one is by in between the Ringing Rocks and the high school. And then next one. Next one is right in front of the turf field. And lastly, we have right outside the main office at the front of the school.
Okay, some of our next steps for our future projects. Working with the facilities department, we would like to develop a meadow between the high school and the Ringing Rocks. Possible location, along with the trees that we planted up on the hill, it would run right across from the road onto the Ringing Rocks parking lot. We would build a boardwalk that's similar to West Pottsgrove's outdoor classroom, and it's already part of the cross-country course, so it would be easier for the cross-country members to run along the boardwalk.
This is our list of reasons as why we should have a meadow. And then on the next slide. The next slide, the reducing runoff would also include reducing any future flooding and any future erosion, and it would also help to recharge our groundwater. It also helps promote biodiversity, and we just put up some pictures as examples for what biodiversity that we could be promoting with the meadow. And we also have education, so the kids from Ringing Rocks and possibly some classes here at the high school could go down to the meadow to observe like the plants, insects, and any small animals they could find. And it would also reduce maintenance, so since the meadow, it wouldn't need any mowing since we want it to grow out. And due to the no mowing, it would also cause less emissions, and it would give more time to do other things. And lastly, the meadow would also be aesthetically pleasing, since obviously we would like to look at like flowers and stuff rather than just grass.
Okay, and then another project that we have is rain gardens, and just to add on and keep them maintained, and so they would be used to reduce runoff, and they would be used for easier maintenance. So those are pictures that we took of erosion and gullying from possible locations that we could put rain gardens to reduce that. And then also maintenance for less mowing and easier to take care of. And that's it.
This particular area is the one that's right along School Lane, where it's always wet, because there's water coming down from that pond area, that retention pond area, and that area is always wet. They can't cut that for most of it, so we might as well go ahead and put a rain garden in there and make it look good.
Any questions?
Any questions?
Only question I had was, what type of trees did you put in?
We had dogwood. We also had, what was it?
We had redbud, we had pin oaks,
Yeah.
and there was one more.
We had some swamp oaks.
Yeah.
There were some serviceberry shrubs as well. So I think we had 5 different species. We had
Yeah.
2 different types of oaks. We had the
Dogwood.
dogwoods, we had the redbuds, and we had the serviceberries.
Cool, thank you.
I just have a quick question. What is a rain garden? Is it like, I'm sort of imagining what it might be.
So if you want an example of a rain garden, the one that we built is that one that's right out in front of the school where there's a sign. So it's coming, it collects the water that's coming off of that auxiliary parking lot out in front of the high school. And so what it's just a lower area where you collect the water in, and you let the water collect in there, and then you put plants in there that really like the water. And what they'll do is, through transpiration and all of that stuff, they will actually help to dry the area out. So the point there is you want to try to slow the water flow down, first off so that it can percolate into the ground, but then you try to get it so that it's not running off. You let it purify, because as it's running through all of those plants, that actually purifies the water that does come out of there. And so it really helps to reduce the amount of runoff and to really purify the water. That's the big thing. So in fact, the group that sponsored that was from the Conservation District, and a lot of it is an effort to try to save, like, the Schuylkill River watershed, to try to clean the water.
Did you get any crop berries?
In terms of what? So,
Blackberries, black raspberries and so on?
I think in the meadow, I think that that would certainly be something, I would be shocked if raspberries did not come into there. And I think that that would be something that you certainly could do.
Around here,
They grow wild,
They
pretty
grow
much.
wild.
You don't cut and they'll grow. So I would be, like I said, I would be shocked if you don't have a whole bunch of wineberries growing up there very soon. I also would like to see a lot of milkweed, plant some milkweed in there to promote the monarch butterflies that are struggling. And so, I think our ideas are to try to maybe plant some things, but then also just let it kind of go.
Just real quick question. First of all, thank you so much, because I love it when you see the students get involved with the earth. I love it, I love it. But how do you get your funding?
So far, the funding that we got was through a grant. The Conservation District provided the funding for that particular thing. A lot of the trees were actually donated through the Conservation District. So obviously, I have connections with the people at the Conservation District, and I've managed to get, so the trees themselves were all donated. That was a grant from, I believe it was the PP&L people that actually had a grant where they gave trees to any group. And I don't remember if it was specific to schools. I think it might have been specific to schools. So any school district that was in the PP&L area, and I think there's a tiny bit of Pottsgrove that actually is in PP&L territory, so that Pottsgrove does qualify for that. So that's where we got that. So we actually have managed to do this with like minimal money from us. We've been able to get grants and stuff. And I'm going to try to continue to cultivate those ins with the Conservation District and see what we can do.
I can see your passion for it.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love doing this stuff.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Could, just for the record, could the students just tell us their name, please, and what grade you're in? Thank you.
I'm Alexis Berkey. I'm one of our vice presidents.
And I'm Cecily Rojo, the treasurer.
What year are you girls?
10th grade.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Good.
That's really
So
cool.
I'll have them hopefully for 2 more years as part of the club. They've been the ones that have done so much of the work. They have been here every time we've planted trees. In the summer, in terms of keeping up the courtyard and cleaning up the courtyard, you guys were in there doing that on some less than pleasant days in the summertime. So yeah, these guys have been wonderful. They've done so much. So I'm really thrilled to have them for another 2 years.
Thank you so
Great.
much.
I just have one more thing. You guys do work at all with Penn State Extension? With there's master gardeners, there's a whole slew of stuff that they offer over there.
I have not yet managed to get that. I mean, I know that is something that certainly I would like to broaden into. I just haven't managed to get there yet with that.
I have connections if you're interested.
I would be.
Okay.
I would absolutely be. Now, I know that there's a master gardener that works up at the Althouse Arboretum that I'm hoping to kind of eventually tap into that as well. But if you have a contact person with that, I'll take any information I can get.
Okay.
I know some, but I can always know more.
Yeah, well, I just do it. I sit on the board there at the 4-H Foundation.
Okay.
And actually so does Jeff Hardwell now.
Okay.
And so I can get you in touch with
Absolutely.
the people there. And I've used them for soil testing and stuff before.
Yeah, give me
They're
a contact
excellent.
person and I will use that.
Okay.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Vorse up, and Natasha, Lisa, and Colleen, if you would come with them, please. As they make their way up, I wanted to take the opportunity this year to have an opportunity to really highlight our implementation of French 1, along with the exploratory programs of Spanish, French, and German, and give the board an update on our success so far this year and where we're heading in the future. Daniel?
Good evening, everyone. So as Dr. Shirk said, as you all know, we're in our year 1 of implementation for French 1, as well as the exploratory program, which is offered for our students in 7th grade. That really provides a sampling of the language, of the world languages that we offer here in Pottsgrove, so that kids and families have some decision-making power when it comes time to make a decision about which world language they want to move forward with. That 7th grade experience provides them with that opportunity. Our presentation this evening really aims to do a couple of things, really provide you with an update of what that first year of implementation has looked like. We'd like to share some of our revisions for next year, show some examples of student work, and I know that the women standing behind me have some student feedback that they would like to share with you as well. As you all well know, anytime you're working with a systems implementation, it really requires the work of a whole bunch of individuals. Many of you have been part of this experience as we work through the process of bringing French back and adding that exploratory program. But just to recognize publicly the women standing behind me, Mrs. Lisa Merritt is one of our German teachers. Mrs. Colleen Crum is one of our Spanish teachers. And Natasha, help me with your last name, Natasha? She says it so much more beautifully than I can ever say it. But they've really worked tirelessly to strengthen our French program and our world language program as a whole. So I'll let the remaining time be theirs to share.
Thank you very much for having us. So just to give you an idea of how the class runs, this class actually became a trimester class. And so each student takes a language for one trimester of German, one trimester of French, and one trimester of Spanish. The class meets 3 times each cycle, which means that each class meets 30 times in that trimester. And so Madame Day and Frau Merritt and I worked to make the classes as identical as we possibly could. So in other words, the students all get greetings and goodbyes. They all get the months of the year, the days of the week. They all get numbers up to 35 or so. They all learn how to make a date. They learn the colors. They learn the classroom objects. And then we throw a bunch of culture in along with the weather. So really the students have an identical experience as much as is possible considering the different languages in which to be able to make the best informed choice about what they'd like to study when they qualify to take a language. So I do actually have a copy for everyone, hopefully for everyone, of what our basic outline is and then the actual vocabulary we use in each language. We had a secondary purpose as well for being so closely aligned, and that was that we really felt it was important for students to start to understand that the languages that we are teaching are very closely interrelated, and there is a relationship between German, Spanish, French, and English as well, so that they could basically build up their vocabulary for standardized testing in the future, because there are words that come from these languages that are some of the big words on standardized tests. And really, we feel like the program is going very well. We're getting good student feedback, and we did take a survey of students. And please bear in mind, these are 7th graders, so the questions that we asked and the answers that we gave them as possible answers were aligned to them. So we asked, first of all, how interested are you in learning languages? And more than almost 40% said extremely interested, 60% hit a little bit interested, and there was only, I think, 4% that said not interested at all, which we felt was a good response. We then asked them, I have learned that French, German, Spanish, and English are alike, and just slightly less than 20% said yes, exclamation point. And then more than 70% said kind of, ... And then no, not at all was really only 10%. So we felt like, 90% agreeing that they're seeing those commonalities was a good sign. I enjoy studying languages in 7th grade. More than 60% said yes, exclamation point, and then we had just under 30% for kind of. So the majority of the students who are taking it are really enjoying the class and are invested in it. And then we asked if they liked learning about culture, because we are able to include more culture pieces in this exploration class. And again, more than 30% said yes, exclamation point, kind of was right around slightly under 60%. So our overall impression is that students really find it to be a positive experience, and it's something that they really want to carry on with. Then the last question was open-ended. We asked them, what would you change about the class, if anything? And of course, being 7th graders, they said, we want field trips and we want snacks. That was their main comment. But then their second most common comment, actually, curiously enough, was we want more languages. So there was a request to say, well, can we add Italian? And especially the Asian languages, I think because a lot of the kids are interested in manga and different art forms that they see from Asia. So there was, Japanese, can we have Korean, can we have Chinese? But the overall message was we want more language, not we want less language. So we are very happy with that. And in the future, we are looking at, the old adage in education is that it takes until the third time you teach something to really feel like you've got it just the way you want it. And when we spoke about it, we all agreed that we want to up our digital presence. So in other words, we have a lot of things on Schoology, but we want to make sure that we're constantly migrating the things that we have into Schoology so it's available for kids. And then keeping up with technologies that we can bring in, like GimKit and things like that, that we just want to make sure we're constantly refreshing that digital presence, because we're very firm in our on-paper presence right now. Okay. I know Madame Day would like to speak to you about French in specific, but would you like any questions for exploration before we switch to French?
I have one question.
Yes.
I'm a big proponent of the whole program. Love it and everything like that. My question is obviously we just started in 7th grade and stuff like that. Would you ever consider, if the board were inclined, to go down grades, actually go to 5th grade, to where middle school actually started world language?
I actually spent, my career has been all over the place, and this is actually 7th grade is the only grade I hadn't taught before, so I was kind of delighted to get 7th grade. But I have worked with kindergarten through 5th grade myself, and I know that Frau Merritt has as well.
Yeah,
So
I
we,
taught 6 through 8 for 7 years, so
so we're actually not philosophically opposed to that at all.
not at all.
So we did bring a board of student work, if anyone would like to take a look at it at some point later on.
It's both digital and some hand-drawn things.
Yes, we printed out the digital
And
things.
all
and stuff.
different kinds of directions, colors, final projects, and all kinds of interesting things that they're learning.
Would you mind,
Yeah, walking it around? Sure thing.
yeah, that's cool.
We have quite a few artists, and anything we can do to get them to be creative, they
That's
really.
really
I think you can express it themselves.
They do, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am Madame Day, the French teacher. I don't know if you have any question you want to ask me first, so I can tell you about. I know I made a survey also for my French one for each group. I had for my middle schoolers, I will say about 85%. I asked them who thinks they're gonna take French too next year, who's interested in French and everything. About 85% said yes, they want to. Some of them said, well, if my grades allow me to, I want to. But the majority, I was very pleased about that, and the majority said they want to. The high school, it's another story. I was expecting maybe 30%, but I had about 62% who said they want to take it. And I have seniors too, so of course, I gave the survey to everybody. The seniors can't take it, but they said if they could, they would. But so I was happy for that too. So I'm very pleased so far for the program. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Is there anything, have you come across anything that you would change about the program right now?
Well, right now, I know I looked over the curriculum. I asked them also the topics they would like to cover next year. I'm not done, of course, with what we are learning, but the majority of the topic they wrote on their paper, I'm going to cover that next year, so it was in my plan. I have a few things I'm gonna think about it, so that's the reason why I asked them also the survey, so I can kind of design the curriculum for next year. But what I will change next year, it's very hard for me to tell you exactly what I will change, but no, nothing really.
Thank you.
Is there a textbook you're using at the high school level?
This year, I don't have a textbook. I did order something to kind of follow and design what I'm doing right now. And there's one called Wayside that I did order for myself, not for the students, just for me to kind of follow. And it's really based on culture. I like to teach culture a lot, and I like this one because this one teach about a lot of French-speaking countries all over the world. So I expose them to a lot of listening from different French accent, from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from everywhere, and they like it. And I speak, for example, I will take a video or audio that I put on Schoology for them. I will say it myself because of course, they are used to my French. So to help them, I will say it. I will post it, they will listen to it before I expose them to the other native speaker. So they get, because the way we say a word in French from different part of the world, it's kind of different. So I want them to be exposed to how the accent change. And they like it. And I think I'm gonna continue that way too.
Have the students been talking about, have they been trying to recruit other students for next year? I mean, you said 62% basically have said they're coming
want to
back.
come back,
Have they
yeah.
been talking about trying to get other students to join as well? Do you expect a larger enrollment?
I don't know, but I know I met some students in the hallway who tell me they will love to take it next year. So I think I have a good feeling that some people want to come. And when I ask them why, of course, they all want to go to Paris, and so they have big dreams and everything. So that's the main reason. Because I asked them, why did you take French? Why are you interested in French? And of course, 50% wants to go to Paris, wants to go to France one day. So that's their dream. So. I meet other students who's not in French, and they come in my class and they said, yeah, they will love to take it. So I think it's positive. It's a good, I'm expecting, about 3 good French 2 classes next year.
Very nice. And I know that we're in the middle of course selection right now, and I don't know exactly when that's over, when we might get the numbers. Is that sometime the next?
Next few days, actually. Yeah.
Next few days, yeah?
Yeah, then we'll see the survey and reality, what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's polls and reality.
We'll see.
They're
yeah.
very different.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate your time and efforts, very good, yep.
Thanks very much for the update. Okay, so now it's time for the speed round.
Moving on to action items for personnel.
I'm going to make a motion under action items personnel. We approve 5.1 to 5.3.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for items 5.1 to 5.3. Are there any questions on these 3 items? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to 5.4 supplemental appointments, we're asking the board to approve the supplemental appointments as submitted.
I'll be abstaining.
Second.
Well, we don't have a motion yet.
A motion. Motion out. Motion.
We have a motion.
So motion. Second.
A motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, the only question I have is, we get different supplementals like every other board meeting? Is there a way we could just get them all grouped in one?
No.
No, it goes by the season.
No?
You asked that question before, actually.
I mean, I know we're gonna, next meeting, I guarantee you, we're gonna get the intramurals, and we're gonna get the clubs and such. It's like,
It's better to
I figured,
break it
just get
down.
them all done.
You can't.
No.
Asked and answered. Any more questions?
No.
Okay. That being the case, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any abstentions?
abstain, yeah.
There we have an abstention. Okay. So ordered without objection, and one abstention.
Thank you, Lori.
Moving on to action items for business, we're asking the board to authorize administration to repair/replace the public address system at West Pottsgrove Elementary in an amount not to exceed $25,000.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, and a second, to repair or replace the public address sound system at West Pottsgrove. Does anybody have any questions on this?
Can we get more information on this? I think it's the first I've heard of it, from what I can recall.
I'm sorry, yeah, this went through the Facilities Committee. The Facilities Committee recommended approval on this, and it was,
This is last week, February.
it wasn't
Was
a
that our
year
last
ago.
meeting?
Wasn't a year ago, it was our last.
That's like at our last meeting.
Yeah, but it was the first time we heard about it. He's on the Facilities Committee. So, he's true, that's true. But no, I don't have more information on it, other than the fact that we talked about it. So we can get him more information, but we don't.
Jeff can.
Jeff can go.
Yep. So it's a two-part project there. When we first did our security assessment, we found out that that's the only school that does not have exterior speakers to the PA system, the whole school PA system. So that's a part of this project here of putting the exterior speakers in place. And then unfortunately, the amplifier PA system inside of the gymnasium actually has blown. So we have a temporary sound system there. So the amplifier and the speaker system in the auditorium/gymnasium needs to be replaced. So we're going to lump both projects together, find the best comparable vendor to replace the system inside of the gymnasium and put exterior speakers up at the building.
Thank you, Jeff.
Are there any other questions on this item? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to 6.2, the press box roof repair. We're asking the board to approve the repair and replace the roof on the stadium press box in the amount not to exceed $15,000.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. I think that Jim won the race on that one. Oh, no, you're saying it was, okay. Line judge says it was Dr. Nippert on that one, so we'll give it to him. And this was also discussed at the last Facilities Committee meeting. Any questions on this one?
Just in regards to insurance, if it was, is insurance covering it, or is that not worth it, or?
The question was, is insurance covering it, Mr. Carwell? Or Dave?
We have not gotten to the point of inquiring in that, but we do have a deductible, and this is probably, the repairs are probably going to come in under the $10,000 deductible.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions on this? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. All right. Next item.
CrowdStrike security software.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve action items 7.1 and 7.2.
Nope, sorry.
We didn't get there yet.
6.3.
Oh, 6.3, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I'm ahead. I already proved that. My head-
6.3, CrowdStrike
You can't
security
do that.
I know.
software
My head's already
upgrade.
there.
We're asking the board to authorize administration to upgrade CrowdStrike security software as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I'm sorry, that was Mr. Leach on that one. 6.3, CrowdStrike. Are there any questions on 6.3? No. If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, all those opposed say no. Sword without objection. All right, now Patty.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve 7 action items, education 7.1 and 7.2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from the right side of the room to approve 7.1 and 7.2 conference attendance. Although, does anybody have any questions on 7.1 and 7.2?
7.1, are they attending different sessions? 2 staff attending?
Yeah, that's all.
Yes, they will be.
Are there any other questions on 7.1 and 7.2? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Moving on to action items for policy, 8.1. We're asking the board to approve the policies as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve policies as noted on 8.1, 209, 225, 805.1, 805.2. Does anybody have any questions on those 4? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So ordered without objection.
Committee items, 9.1 Policy Committee for 1/8. We're asking the board to accept the minutes for the Board Policy Committee that was held on January 28th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the Policy Committee meeting from January the 28th. Does anybody have any questions on the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, very good. Next one is me.
Reports,
Yes, right. If this was earlier in the agenda, I would have mentioned to you that that we talked about some things that might be coming up later, but we didn't do it that way. So we met February the 11th, and we talked about the preliminary budget. You were there for that. We talked about the budget and where we were, and where we had talked about where we were on the preliminary budget. At that time, the property tax, if we had made no changes, basically just took the budget as it was at the moment, that the property tax increase would be 1.73 to balance it. And we looked at the primary cost drivers, and as the notes say, basically the salary increase, as it is at the moment, was $856,000, a benefit increase of $321,000, and contracted services an increase of $234,000. Currently, well, at that time, charter school and special education tuitions are expected to decline at that time. And we talked about the summary of major components in the governor's budget, plus, pushes and takes on the budget, and where that was and how that was going. And we're going to continue to work towards, our goal was an overall goal for a 1% increase, bringing it down from 1 3/4 to 1% was where we were working towards, and hopefully working towards the 0% increase, the mythical and often goal of 0%. We'll see where we go. We'll see where we go from here. We compared where we were with other districts and how much lower we were on the average than other districts, and how that impacts future budgets, and how that's going to put us in a bind in terms of where that increase would make us, and how our business manager spends sleepless nights thinking about what that does for future funding. And also compared to our capital increases, we looked at our 10-year plan and how the amount of money that we're going to be spending over the next 10 years keeps going up. I mean, we're looking at a number of large projects. You know, we have roof replacements that we have coming up and large capital projects. We were looking at projects at the middle school. We were looking at projects at the high school. Basically, all of our buildings have major capital projects, and we have to basically plan on $3 to $5 million a year. I think was about what we were looking at for the foreseeable future, and so we have to continue to build up our capital reserve, and you know, we just can't can't plan on just spending that down. So it's going to be a continual balancing act, and we're going to have to continue to do that. So don't want to spend too much time on the facilities committee. And we did talk about those other things, the roof replacement and the. Yeah, that's okay. After all the good news on the budget, you were just you couldn't take any more good news, and that's when we talked about the actual facilities committee part of the meeting. And that's when we talked about the replacement of the PA system and the roof repair for the press box. And we wrapped up at that point. So that is the meeting of the facilities committee. Moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Linger. We're going to move on to the Curriculum Integration Technology Committee report.
Right, so we met last Tuesday. Al, did you catch that? Okay. Very first thing we discussed was the Second Step program. Mrs. Pacito gave us some information as to what it is, and it's a K through 5 curriculum that's targeted at growing social and emotional learning. In the past, we've had actually outside, not even educators really, come in and present the material sort of randomly. There wasn't a set schedule, but the funding for that sort of disappeared, and it's now coming from a different area. So what's going to happen now is our teachers are going to get kits, and they are going to be able to present and teach this information themselves. They just have to find times in their schedule to do that, and it's like 15 to 20 minutes once a week, right? And so they just need to fit that into their schedule, see where they're going to do it. So they will be receiving the kits within a month, and then they will get training and all that stuff on it. So it's sort of nice that we can take it into our own hands now rather than depending on somebody from the outside coming in. This way the teachers have more control over how it's taught. You know, they can answer the questions, they can keep reinforcing it within the classrooms. Second thing we spoke about was the possibility of an added personal finance class to the graduation requirement in high school. So we've been discussing that now for a couple months. So the administration did collect quite a bit of information for us and presented us with 3 different possible models where it could be taught. It would be a half credit, and it would be a requirement from sometime between 9th to 12th grade. So the first model was what they called the business model, meaning it would be taught within the business department. And that would raise the graduation requirements from 23.49 credits to 23.99 credits by just literally adding this extra half credit course. It would be added in with the career exploration component and taught by a business teacher. The second was called the math model, meaning it would be taught within the math department. Again, adding the 0.5 credits, so raising it up to 23.99 for graduation. And the third was what was called the social studies model, and that is actually maintaining the 23.49, graduation credits, but reducing the social studies credits from 4 to 3. So the students would then add the half credit of personal finance and another half credit, possibly social studies related, if they so chose. So we discussed all the ins and outs of that, how all the teachers felt about that. And a few of the questions were, would this require an additional teacher? Yes, we would need to add most likely a business teacher because we want to correlate it with the career explorations. Western Center students, how would they be impacted? It would be more difficult for them to find that extra half credit. So we'd have to look at that. When would students be taking it? Unfortunately, no one feels that this is the right time, but 9th grade, it seems to be the best time to get the kids to take it. Everyone feels that that's a little young. So that's still being looked at. And the administration is going to come back to us with more information on the business and the social studies model, and in March we will discuss it further. Next, we talked about Act 7, and that is CPR education. So basically what happened is the state said that the PDE is going to create this curriculum for CPR, only they haven't yet. Big surprise. So we're just watching and waiting, basically, because there is at some point, it's going to be a requirement that hands-only CPR is going to be taught within the schools. And then last, we finished up with a data update. We discussed the MAP information as compared to the mean RIT scores. And so in reading in grades 4 through 9, the grade level mean RIT score was higher than the previous administration, which showed growth, and met or exceeded the national norm. In math, grades 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10, the grade level mean RIT score was higher than the previous administration and met or exceeded national norm. And Mr. Voris shared the ECRA winter growth update, and just said that all this information is provided to the building principals and teachers, and the teachers use the information to continue to plan their instruction accordingly. That's it.
One thing I do want to bring up, though, I'm going to ask the public in general in this, is I really would like to make a plea that the public gets involved with the board in trying to decide whether personal finance is something that we want to bring as a required course to the actual community. Everybody agrees our students should have personal finance, but it's a lot different than actually saying that personal finance should be a required elective. And also, it comes with a cost. Now, the board spent a lot of time in creating and going through and doing a program where we did the exploratory world language and we introduced French back to the program. That came at a cost. Thankfully, as we saw today, that cost looks like it is a very positive cost for the community, as it was a good thing to have. This will come at a cost. Now, we discuss at every committee meeting during budget season, obviously, we always want to try to do 0%. That's always been our goal, and I think we've done very well in our district over the last 4 or 5 years, and I don't think we've had a raise over 0.66%, while other districts are raising theirs 2, 3, 4%. So I think we've done a very good job on that, but it's going to come at a point where we're not going to always be able to do that 0%, 0.5%, if we're going to offer these new programs to our students. So I'm really pleading to the community, no one comes to the meetings. I'm asking, if you're interested in this program being something you want for your students, please come and tell us you want this, you're willing to pay this. Because if not, we're gonna make the decision, and then I'm gonna hear at the end, how come we raised our taxes? Come, tell us what you want, we will do it. Thank you.
I'll say, while I support personal finance course personally, and am requiring my son next year to take it, I struggle with telling parents, you have to have your son or daughter take this course. I support the course. Personally, at this time, I know you're still researching, and that's fine. I don't support myself it being a requirement. I prefer to leave that to the parents.
I want to second Mr. Leach's comment, and it's and with personal finance, it's a little different than some of the other courses. Everybody knows what French is. If we're going to teach French, everybody knows what it is. But with a new topic like personal finance, there's some question, what is personal finance? What does it include? Does it include balancing your checkbook? Does it include evaluating stocks? Does it include figuring out interest rate calculations? So we need the public input, not just to find out if you support it and if you think it should be taught in schools, but we also need your input so we can find out what it is you think personal finance is. Because there's a myriad of answers. Does that mean I should rent a car, or does that mean I should buy a car? And do I need to do the calculations? We had a discussion about the quote math model. And the math model question largely hinges on how much mathematics is there in personal finance. And if you look at some of the other courses that are non-math, sociology, or if you look at sociology and political science and you do surveys, you can find yourself immersed up to your neck and above in statistics. And if all you're going to do is balance a checkbook, all you need is a 4-function calculator. So we need your input to find out what you think should go into this new course and this new topic. Thank you.
Keep in mind, we do already have a personal finance class. It is purely elective, so we already have a curriculum. I don't know, both of my kids took it.
This is a half-credit course, and it's going to be a different item. It's not a new item. If it were a new item, we wouldn't have to be discussing.
No, but the personal finance class we have now isn't mandatory. So that's really the difference here. I don't know that we'd be changing the curriculum too much on the current course that's offered. I don't know. I'm not a business teacher.
We're still needing information. What's going to be in the course? What topic do we glean out?
Right, but like I said, it's not like the French where we're creating something brand new. This has been embedded within the high school for quite a while. Obviously I'm for it, but that's neither here nor there right now. We're just waiting for more information.
Okay. Key piece of information for those of you that wish to weigh in on that is that the next,
Actually, may I?
not yet.
About the finance.
The next meeting of that committee is on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day at 7:30. So you have to choose, where are you going to be at 7:30 on St. Patrick's Day?
Combine this boat.
No, you may not be YOB.
That would get the public out.
My wife will kill me.
Not here, not here.
Because Bob's bringing.
Off-campus, if it's an off-campus meeting.
You can bring your own briefcase, you may bring your own binder, you may bring your own big pen.
It's a cultural event. I have a question for the finance one, just because
Yes, you may
nothing's
ask your
quite as
question.
fun as putting somebody on the spot, but as a student.
Personally, I think I would probably have been a little frustrated if it became a requirement, because I feel like
between the requirements that we have to take gym 3 times and take health, like there are already classes that I prioritize over those things, and then trying to fit another requirement in, you know, if that prevents me from taking something that I'm really interested in or something that would help me in the future, I would see that as a deficit to the class.
Just so you know, that's one of the biggest parts of the discussion, and some of the models actually would take away a possible requirement that you had somewhere else to fit this in. It would actually open up you to get more electives if we did it the way we were talking.
Okay. So that brings us to new business.
Yes, sir.
So open with Patty.
I'm sorry, what?
New business.
I do have some new business. First, I want to remind everybody, the Western Center has the Jeep Craft Show this Saturday. They're starting off with pancake breakfast at 8 o'clock. So it's from 9 to 3. Two things have been very exciting here with our athletics. The girls' basketball team is trying to extend their season tonight with a district game at Villa Maria Academy. If the girls win this, they will reach the state playoffs for the first time since 1998. So we're wishing them luck. And I was going to rely on Dr. Ziegler to fill me in on that. Any updates?
Yeah, so unfortunately our girls did lose tonight in a tough battle, but they've had a fantastic season. We also have 6 wrestlers going to regionals on next Friday and Saturday at Southerton High School. 2 of them are
This Friday.
This Friday. This Friday and Saturday, and we actually had 2 district champions, Zach Van Horn and Avery Shivak. So really good representation there from our wrestling.
Yes, thank you. And that's it.
Thank you. Very good. Yes?
No, sir.
What?
Nope.
No new business.
You saw it. Nope. You already sure?
Wow. Obviously got somewhere to go after the meeting.
Obviously, actually I do.
All right. Nothing from you? Okay. All right. So that brings us back to item 11, and that is public comment. Has anybody come up with any new public comments? Based on anything they've heard, saw, seen, nothing. There being no new public comment, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Over and done.